Good evening. Thank you for joining us for our regularly scheduled council meeting on Tuesday, January 24th at 7 p.m. Madam Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Charlie Davidson,
Here.
George Glover,
Here.
Ben Salcetta,
Here.
Charles Schwenke,
Here.
Tom Jones,
Here.
George Capps,
Here.
Brandy Bailey,
Here.
Jim Schrader.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Pastor Bill Kuntz will start with our invocation, and our pledge will be led by Councilmember Schwenke.
Father, we come before you this evening. Father, I ask that the council members will seek your will on the business of Park City. Give them wisdom. Father, may they do good work for the people of Park City. Bless them. Bless their meeting tonight in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, start out with approval of the agenda. George Glover.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Charlie.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Awards and presentations, I don't believe we have any tonight. I have nobody signed up for a public forum. Staff reports for the city administrator. Sean?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a couple updates tonight on a variety of topics. First, this is a friendly reminder that there will be a public hearing at Council's next regularly scheduled meeting on February 14th at 7 o'clock to learn more and discuss the creation of a proposed Star Bond district at Echo Hills. We have information about the public hearing on the city's website, or folks can also stop by City Hall and pick up a map of the proposed district. The proposed buildings and facilities to be constructed generally include mixed-use development consisting of a museum, entertainment uses, exhibition, retail and restaurant uses, athletic uses, hotels, and residential uses. Secondly is the senior center van. This is just to keep this on the council's radar. I don't have any good news to report, just the fact that we are still in the process, but unfortunately, the county as well as the city are still awaiting for the vendor to provide the new vehicle. Back in November, council heard from several residents about the condition of a property here in town at 2131 Frontenac, a house that had been left unmaintained for some time and was in either need of repairs or being demolished. Happy to report that as of last week on the 19th, the house was sold to a housing renovation company out of Derby. The new owners are aware of council's concern as well as the neighboring residents and have indicated that this property is a priority to them and that the repairs will start by the end of this week. The other property that has somewhat languished over the past has been 1915 Fairchild. As council would remember, late last June, council determined that it was dangerous and unsafe, but the owner's representative requested 90 days to effect repairs due to possible probate issues that was ongoing, and council agreed to that. Unfortunately, since then, no apparent repairs have been made, and we've attempted to contact them, but have not had the best of luck. So the building official is in the process of receiving bids to have that property demolished. Coincidentally, in the meantime, just today, there was another home builder that is trying to work through those probate issues on behalf of the owner and either secure or buy the property. Either way, due to the delay of the new buyer, the anticipated cost of the demolition probably is going to be high enough that would require council's approval, just giving it notice that probably at the next meeting that this will be coming before you on as an agenda item. It's important to note that even though it was determined to be dangerous and unsafe at the time, the windows and the doors have been boarded up and the electrical service panel has been pulled from the building, so it's safe at this time. And then finally, I got two more things. The Employee Wellness Program, as council may remember, it was established back in 2016. It's a program that encourages healthy lifestyles with the goals of reducing employee illnesses and workman comp claims, increasing productivity, and improving morale and loyalty among the employees. The program offsets a portion of the YMC membership fees, and it was expanded to include Park City gyms in 2020. The program is very much appreciated by the employees, and with the new year, there are additional ideas that will be coming before council's consideration here in the near future in February. And then finally, on March 11th, Park City will be hosting the Sedgwick County Association of Cities, also known as SCAC. They will be hosting their monthly meeting here at the City Hall. From what we understand, the guest speaker will be somebody from the Kansas Bureau of Investigators, as well as there will be a short presentation on Park Center in Champtown. Barring any questions, that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Sean. Ben?
I do have a question. I had emailed a couple on this about Jacksonville, 61st Street area. Where are we at in terms of what's being done there? We're obviously seeing cracks and things along that repair area.
Yes, sir. The vendor that went ahead and applied it, Andale, knew at the time that it was a learning process for them, but we felt comfortable because they gave a 7-year warranty, and we know that this is their hometown. We have been in touch with Mike Mattson on that, and February 20th is when it is scheduled, letting it get a little bit warmer, but they feel that they have a method of taking care of the particular problems that they've encountered so far.
Is it going to cause any lane closures or anything like that as they're working?
Not to my knowledge, sir. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Striping as well?
Striping was not ever included in the original contract, sir.
So we did that separately?
Yes, sir.
Because I feel like a lot of it is kind of
Peeling off?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
just not good.
It wasn't done separately, but it was done by Cillison as a ad hoc after the fact. It was not painted. Yes, sir.
And I did have some feedback from Citizen on there's no arrows for turn lanes. Where the turn
Okay.
lanes are, there should be arrows on each one of those, especially for folks that are not from here, have trouble navigating that intersection, not knowing.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, we'll move on to consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Jim?
I would move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Charlie?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. I just have one thing, Sean, I meant to ask you about. The election or the redistricting, what's the status of that now?
Excuse me. We were awaiting the contract to be signed by Sedgwick County. We got that signed just last week from Jack Joseph, the director of the GIS department. And so now that it is finally signed, I know council signed it 2.5, 3 months ago. Our side did, but waiting for Sedgwick County. But now we're ready to proceed forward with that.
Are they still thinking any time frame on when that'll be back to us? I mean, just with the election coming up.
Yes, sir. Like I said, right now, we're trying to get schedules coordinated to have the initial meetings to sit there and say, originally, the memorandum of understanding outlined 5 different proposals. We had indicated that we didn't need 5, we just needed 2 or 3 to choose from, but we haven't been able to coordinate with them as far as what our expectations are.
Thank you. Randy?
I actually saw Jack in a meeting the other day, and I happened to ask him about it, and he said that as soon as the contracts were signed, that it would, and once we had the initial meeting, it would not take very long to get it together.
Good. Thank you. All right, move on to new business. Item 5, discuss and receive an annual Park City BMX report. Jamie Johnson. Thank you for coming tonight.
I'm always nervous whenever I come up here, so I'm sorry. So this past year, it rained a lot more than normal. I don't know if that contributed to the new riders or not. I know the other track is being ran right now by different people, so it's kind of gone back to, people are going there and Park City, so we're not quite getting all the renewals and new riders that we had been. The total revenue for last year was $49,251, and then we put $47,486 back into it. There's an extra 4 in there. So we spent all of that on re-gluing, painting the turns. We did some work on that top Connex that we installed. And then we put a couple security cameras out there just so that we can kind of get alerts when there are people out on the track, which is happening a lot, and it's causing a lot of damage to the glue that we've put down. We're gonna have to completely strip it again and re-glue it. So, I mean, we call the police. We feel bad calling 911 because I feel like that's a line for emergencies, and really this isn't an emergency, but for us, it's vandalism. So we did get the Gold Cup qualifier again for this year. That weekend will be June 30th through July 2nd. I would like to get permission for camping again that weekend in the parking lot, just like we have the last couple years. So there will be an event going on there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're struggling a lot with the flooding in the parking lot. The water is coming back up over the return lane, so the kids have to ride through that, and we can't race whenever it's underwater. If it's underwater enough, we can pump it off of there, but it's not always deep enough to pump it off of there.
Yeah.
We desperately need help with the drainage. We do have a new rider league that we're doing again this year. We did one in 2020, and we're gonna do another one this year. It's for brand new riders, people who have never had a membership, so they'll come out and they'll join this league, and then the conversion rate is pretty good at the end of it. They usually all convert, so we're hoping that that'll be successful again. Otherwise, I mean, as soon as the weather cooperates, we will start this season.
Sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, you're okay.
You weren't done. Under 2022 performance, you have finished the year second in Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Is that,
So there are 3 tracks in Kansas. Topeka is in its own district. It's KSO1, and then us and the other track, Emery Park BMX, we are KSO2. But the 3 tracks, whoever finishes first gets the state final every year. Second place gets some different things, and then third place is just third place.
so how are those placed? Is it like the number of riders, number of
It is
events?
rider count and races, how many races we have.
Wow.
So I believe that we raced 4 or 5 less than Topeka did. But it's also tough for us with having 2 tracks in this district to compete with a track that only has 1 track in their district.
Yeah.
So all the riders from the whole northern part of the state go to that 1 track.
Yeah.
And ours are split between 2 tracks. So
So, and then it mentioned on the 4th bullet point, earned another Gold Cup qualifier for 2023. What's it take to earn that? How'd you get there?
you have to apply for them. USA BMX determines who applies and who's gonna get it. So we have gotten it for the last 3 years. They make sure that the track is capable of running the event, and then they look at the track itself. They kind of base those off of when you then apply for a Gold Cup final or a national, who they're gonna give those to.
And so what's that do when you get a Gold Cup qualifier? That just draws people from further?
It does.
Gives them points or something?
So I don't have, and I have no way of knowing without looking at the race itself where everybody was from, but I know that we had riders from California. We had riders from Colorado. They were from all over the place last year. We had 276 riders for that race, which you figure each one of those riders has a mom or dad or family with them, so it brought a ton of people into Park City. I know that I couldn't go to McDonald's because I was not gonna wait in line. Quick Trip runs out of ice.
Yeah.
It's,
Okay, anything else?
no.
Okay, Ben has a question for you.
Yeah, so, again, thank you for what you all do here. That fifth bullet point was great. 3 charity events with over $5,000 raised. I think that's phenomenal that you guys are finding ways to give back to our community. And obviously, the leukemia and lymphoma one holds a special place to me. So I appreciate that you all do that and take that into consideration when doing that. You know, I don't know how, I know that there's concerns over, you know, location, people's, when they're registering, sharing of information or whatever. I think it would be helpful to see some of the data as far as kind of what you were getting at, John, is where they're coming from, where people are coming from. Because from a tourism aspect, I think that's something that we could really take a look at in terms of even, because there are possibilities here for this track to expand its reach.
There's huge possibilities. I mean,
Yeah.
if we were able to have a facility that worked well enough for USA BMX, there are tracks out there that get a national every year. The Grands, which will always be in Tulsa, there's no getting that out of Tulsa, but that is so huge for them that that building is free for USA BMX. Because, I mean, I think there were almost 1,000 riders at Grands last year.
And if there's ways to get some of that data, I think that would be helpful in terms of looking at to say, you know, where are we gonna, I mean, it's our facility. It's a city-owned property. You know, so what are some of those resources that we really can put in there to help elevate that? Because if we're not far off from finishing first in Kansas, you know, that helps us out. If we can get some of those other numbers up, it seems like it'd be a huge win for our community all the way around. So I'd be interested in looking to see if we can get that data, to see if there's maybe some ways where we can find some investment.
And I can reach out, I can get some of that from USA BMX, I think, and then I can reach out to some other tracks in our surrounding areas that have had nationals as far as what kind of numbers they have. I know that nationals people travel across the country for.
Yeah.
I spent a whole summer traveling for my son, so.
And I think, and I guess, sorry, even just when you're doing the Gold Cup, some of that information would be good as far as where you're, because I think that's really what's helpful to know what we currently have.
Right.
And seeing that tourism aspect, I think would be helpful.
I mean, if we could race more, it would bring more people in. It's, the weather adds, I mean, it would be fantastic to be in a covered facility or an indoor facility and race year round because that would guarantee everything, but, you know, everybody doesn't have that, so we do what we can.
Okay. Tom?
I'd just like to add on a positive note, driving by on 135, going through the park and looking, places nowhere where it was 5 years ago. You guys have done a phenomenal job cleaning it up and keeping it up. It looks nice all the time.
Thank you.
I just want to compliment you on that. I know it takes a lot of work.
It does. It takes a lot of work from a lot of people. It's,
Yep.
yeah, thank you.
George Glover?
Yeah, if you had to cancel a lot of races because of water, do you reschedule them? They're just gone.
I mean, we have a makeup day, but a lot of time when there's that much water out there, even, because we have to make up the race within 7 days. Our makeup day is Sunday. So if we can't race on Friday night, I mean, depending on the amount of rain, a lot of times it's still too wet on Sunday to make that race up.
You mentioned drainage issues. In what way could we, I mean, as far as looking at what we can do as far as helping you guys with the drainage issues, what recommendations or what would you want us to look at as far as
So
doing?
I've communicated with Sean and Zach both just on kind of what we need. We just need the dirt raised closer to the track and then, so it drains away from the track versus toward it, because right now it's higher toward that north berm. So the water all comes toward the track.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Jamie, I want to tell you, I have to second what Tom was saying. And when this started, I can't remember what year it was, but I was adamantly opposed to it and voted against it every time, including when we put driveways and stuff in. And I never regretted that vote until about 5 years ago when you guys took it over. And I tell you, you guys have made a gym out of that. And I commend you and all the volunteers and all the people that really put in countless hours, because driving by that on the highway, I mean, that you guys have taken advantage of the interstate frontage that you have and put signs up for Park City, and you've done a great job, and thank you guys for what you do, and especially for where you're giving back to the community and these charity races and things like that, and also your social media presence. I felt like you push that as much as you can, so thank you for what you guys do.
Thank you. Thank you guys for everything that you've done.
And I guess one more thing, Convention and Tourism, do you guys give presentations to them and get some support there?
We have in the past. I don't think that we did much of that last year,
Okay.
but
And
We
with us,
have.
sorry, with us losing the hotel, there were some cuts in that area too, but hopefully we'll get back on track pretty quick with some other tourism opportunities coming up.
okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming, Jamie.
I go one quick one too. She might look at the chamber sometime for a sponsor on an event or something like that. They may not do the whole thing, but they would contribute money to it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I would entertain a motion to receive and file. Jim?
I move to receive and file the Park City BMX annual report.
Ben?
Second.
Okay. Item 6, discuss and consider economic incentive for Hartman Arena. Sarah and Dominic. Sarah?
Good evening, Sarah Steele, Gilmore and Bell. We're bond counsel to the city. And we're here this evening to take the initial action on a proposal that has been put forth to acquire the Hartman Arena. And they have asked for an industrial revenue bond to be issued to pay for that acquisition. The request is that they grant a 10-year, 100% property tax exemption of that facility in order to economically be able to operate there. So the first action that would need to be taken is to hold a public hearing, accept any public comment. And then secondly, there is a proposed resolution that you have before you that addresses the advisability of issuing the bonds. As you recall, this is the first step in the bond issue process. The second step will be to come back to the council with an ordinance actually issuing the bonds. I'd be happy to stand for any questions. I do know Ryan is here from the company. If you have any particular questions on their proposed use of the facility.
Thank you, Sarah. Jim?
I was just, my mind goes more into the aspect of issuing a second set of bonds and on the project. I don't dispute at all that, you know, it would help a lot. And my mind is going down the more the rabbit hole of maybe the buyers being asked to pay too much for it, you know, because the value of commercial real estate is based on the income it produces, and obviously getting rid of the taxes over the next 10 years would increase cash flow, which would relate to a higher value. So we may have a situation where the property just ought to be selling for a little less, and they wouldn't need the tax incentives. So you know, that's just a statement. It's not my business to comment on, you know, the purchase price, but when it involves taxpayer dollars, I guess we need to. So that's on my mind. But I'm going more down the road of, you know, there's $65 million in projected sales that related to this, and obviously the tax incentives or the taxes generated from that would more than offset by quite a bit what is being asked in return. So is there a possibility of a reduced tax incentive. That should be a discussion. Has there been discussion of paving the road that goes in front of it? That would greatly benefit the access to the area. So guess I'm just having questions. That's why is there room in here to talk about this?
So I really can't answer most of your questions except to indicate that you certainly may negotiate anywhere between 0 and 100% and 0 to 10 years on a property tax exemption. That is the only benefit resulting from these industrial revenue bonds. And it is legal when there is a new party acquiring a facility to grant another abatement if it falls within the discretion of this body to approve.
Okay.
So that's about all I can.
Sure. I knew you wouldn't have all of it. I'm interested what the council thinks. I mean, I think those are 2 points that ought to be discussed. And I'm listening. It may make sense based, that arena's sitting there dark or being used for something else possibly than what it is not going to generate the tax revenue that it could as an ongoing arena. And I can see the math. It may be in our best interest to grant this. I just want to hear what everybody else thinks.
Thank you, Jim. George?
Well, we're taking a business or a property, we're taking it off tax rolls. And we have to take that into consideration. I'd be curious listen to the gentleman as to what they're going to do for us. What's in it for us? Why should we grant them this exemption?
I just will add, and yes, I think Ryan, if you could come up, I will add that there is a provision that the property tax abatement only lasts as long as this is being operated as an arena. So there will be a requirement that it not be converted to any other use as long as the property tax is exempt. Secondly, I may add, Councilmember Capps, that when the bonds are issued, it will not exempt this property for calendar year 2023. The property tax exemption can only start January 1 of the following calendar year. So for example, if bonds are issued in 2023, you pay taxes all through the 2023 tax period, and then the property may be exempted starting January of 24. Just
Well, I know we generally issue those to help people construct a business. But this
Correct.
place is already constructed. It's there, ready to go. It just, it's a little different.
yes, it is.
Agreed.
Council, Mayor, appreciate you having me here tonight. Maybe shed a little bit of light on what our thoughts and plans are here with this asset. Initially, it has been laid out that we would keep it in its current programming use and have it continue to serve Park City and the greater Wichita metro area. It's a great venue. It has been kept up and done well. I think that there is additional programming from our conversations that we've had with Mr. Bolander, the current manager through Venue Works, and our intent is to continue to work with that management company to keep that all in place and expand on it. We have asked for Mr. Bolander and his team to lay out some different capital improvement plans that they see that could add additional programming to these, and this, includes a various amount of things, and we're not here to necessarily promise that any of those would happen. All of those would be subject to a cost-benefit analysis and a true understanding of what value add that would create for the arena itself, as well as for the city as a whole. you know, with some of the other projects that we are working here in Park City along with. We think that this is a highly complementary business that we can attract additional programming items and events to the facility. And, you know, I think that some of the examples that I've heard as of recent, as we've analyzed the acquisition of this, is, you know, there's a opportunity, I think, for more outside events. Cody Johnson was a recent one that had happened that was a parking lot concert. There's probably a more efficient and economically beneficial way to conduct those type of events and attract them and retain them. And I mean, from some of our understanding, and we're just starting to dig in, but this is a, you know, the property tax abatement in order to get this asset to cash flow and stand on its own is needed. Without it, it doesn't, at least on paper, produce, even at the level that we're buying it at or propose to buy it at, does not stand on its own. It would require some level of substantial subsidy from an ownership group. You know, we have heard different ideas kicked around about different uses for this, whether it be warehouse or likewise in some other capacity. We believe that there's tremendous benefit to keeping it in its current use and expand on that and broaden the offering that it currently has. I don't know. And then kind of lastly, I think one of the opportunities that we see, given the business that we're in and what we do, is there's a substantial amount of ground around the arena that we believe is underutilized in its current form today that will take a very, you know, committed approach to furthering the development, and the road was one of the conversations that was asked here. It would be our intent and our desire, at least right now with what we understand and what we know, and it sounds like there is cooperation from adjoining landowners, that we would like to see that road constructed and be part of this in short order. We think that not only benefits the arena itself, but also will help benefit the development that we would try to drive into the future. So you know, in total, I think there's about 1.9 million square feet of ground that we are currently working through right now. Obviously, a big portion of that sits where the arena asset itself sits, and then there's the parking lot, which is fairly substantial as well. But I think roughly around 800 or 900,000 square feet of future developable ground. And I think this can serve a variety of uses in time as Park City continues to expand and grow. I think there's restaurant opportunities that will exist there someday with its proximity to the casino, with what the arena itself tracks. If it can have consistent year-over-year growth, I think that is one. I think that there could be some, you know, affordable housing options that could make some sense in place around here, you know, and maybe in time hotels and some other things like that we'll be able to attract to it. I think that's, you know, doesn't exist today in our opinion, but I think under the right plan, you know, in the next 5 to 7 years, we could see tremendous growth there. And our basis where we're going to land at in this, if we're successful and this gets done, gives us flexibility to attract, I think, the right users and offer them the right numbers to be able to attract them to, you know, a little bit out of Park City's main thoroughfare and be successful in attracting them to this. So that's.
Well, I had one other question for you.
Yes.
When you have events there and you advertise them, is that going to be the arena in Park City, Kansas, or is that going to be north of Wichita on I-135? What is going to be your advertisement and your business address?
Very much Park City. So
Okay.
Park City is, you know, I think it's a jewel of Park City, and I think it's done well for Park City and brings economic benefit here. And, you know, it's something that, as Park City residents and staff and council and mayor, I would want to claim as my own as well, and we will continue that. You know, we will debate what naming and how some of those things are handled into the future. I would anticipate some branding and potential name changes and all that comes along with that as part of this, and I think that will probably happen potentially in the first year, the way that it's currently laid out. We see opportunity there. You know, I think we would just bring maybe a different lens or perspective on how we would conduct business there and I think it's been a great business and the current ownership has done a great job building that asset and creating what they have. We just identify some additional opportunities that we think that we can drive and create as part of a more holistic plan for Park City in total. So that's kind of where we see the opportunity.
We're proud of our community, and we want our businesses to be that way also.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Tom?
I was gonna say, is there, easy to ask for 10 years, 100% abatement? And that was where Jim was touching. Is there something else that would still work without being 10 years or 100%? Would 80% for 8 or 5 years, or 100% for 5 years, and maybe 75% for the next 5?
I mean, I think.
And then could be adjusted based on what you do with that property in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair question. Today, I will say how we're looking at it and how we're running and analyzing it is on a 100% 10-year property tax abatement. That is, have we reached a final conclusion as to if that is the only way that makes it successful? We have not. And part of that, I'll be honest, is, you know, continued a due diligence period that would allow us to better understand exactly what all that takes. You know, there's some challenge with, I mean, there's speed, there is a speed of execution here that is somewhat required as part of the transaction. We don't have a tremendous amount of time, but it would be something that we could, you know, dig into and further understand to better answer that. But how we're looking at it currently is as a condition of a 10-year 100% property tax abatement in order to, at least we have analyzed it in that respect, and that allows it to, should consistently more than break even. So not a tremendous amount. We're going to have to do some value add, we're gonna have to do some things, and you know, we look at it from a development as a whole, like what is our, and we see great trajectory in a runway here in Park City, and are very grateful for the opportunities that have been laid out for us. And we think that this is a well-positioned asset for us to continue that growth into the future as we build out some of these other opportunities and, you know, put our own flag. You know, you're gonna see that here in short order with some of the other stuff that we're working on. But this really, I think, also solidifies a flag in the ground, if you will, from a Lang perspective, and Mr. Jeff Lang and his commitment to and what he's ultimately believing in between the council and mayor and the staff here. And I think shows a very early indication that he believes in this community along with you guys and what we've been able to accomplish in the short time that we've been working on this and what we believe we're set forth to accomplish into the future. So for what that's worth, I hope that you see value in that as well, and that I know we do, so.
Okay. Well, and I know there's been discussion with Mr. Hartman Sr. in the past about doing some additional additions to the property out there. I didn't know if you would be interested in talking about that sometime away from here.
We absolutely would, and we've got some of that feedback from Mr. Bolander currently, and Phil, like all of those should be considered and on the table. The nice thing is that they have maintained the asset very well, and it's in great working order. Their venue schedule is extremely busy. They have, I think some of it is COVID too. I mean, they're coming out of a fairly difficult season for a business such as theirs. So, digging back in and making sure that, and we've been very impressed, at least from what we've seen, with their ability to get these acts back up and going consistently and returning here. And I think they've done a great job. We meet with their ownership team, I think Thursday of this week. Here, they're coming to town, so we'll get some better, probably understanding in addition to their manager and his thoughts. And we're very pleased with what we've seen from them as an operating partner and feel good about the hands that it's in and that we can just add value to what they already are doing and improve on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ben?
Yeah. Sorry. I appreciate what Councilman Cap said, because I always tell people I work in the community just south of Park City along 135. And so Park City's home. It's a great place to be, so I appreciate that line of thought. With that, I guess I'm kind of 2 points to where Jim's coming from too is, and Sarah, I have a question that probably you could answer a little easier. So the question ultimately is how often does it come where second set of IRBs are issued on a property? Obviously, we've done this once. Now we're looking at a second time. I know we've done it before in Park City, so I know it's happened before. So I'd be interested in that. I guess to my thought, though, is one, I always get worried, or not worried, apprehensive whenever you're talking deals, whether it's something as little as automobile purchases to house purchases, where your contingency in purchasing is based upon a large amount of support coming elsewhere, if that makes sense. In this term, we're talking about 10-year tax abatement from the city in order to make this work, and I think that might have been what kind of Jim was thinking. I don't want to put words in his mouth. So I get that. That's a little bit apprehensive. The reason I say that and liking it too is you get the people who can't buy a house because they get their insurance quote and it comes back too high, and then everything's falling apart because it's kind of overstretched. That is kind of the line of thought. Not that this is, I get what you're saying. You're looking at trying to buy an asset that's just barely financially seems to be breaking even, or not, I don't know. And so what can you do to get that off the ground? So I don't think it's necessarily comparing apples to apples, but that's one thought. The second thing, though, on the other side, is Sedgwick County does only have one other place to go in terms of entertainment on a level of this, and that's the community that lives just south of Park City along 135. And so I think having that asset in town is important. So I guess I tend to favor this just simply because of the fact that I think it's important for community quality of life. But I do also kind of struggle with, here we are, 10-year tax abatement, a second time. Now, granted, you didn't get it the first time, so it's not fair to penalize you for somebody else or like that. But that's kind of my line of thought. But my question is really more towards Sarah, is how often does this happen?
It is very rare. I am aware of a few circumstances where the asset was so important to the community that they were willing, upon change of ownership, to grant another abatement period. And I'm aware of one I'm not involved in, but they're doing a third abatement period because, again, they've just identified that the asset's important to their community and they want to help however they can. So all of that is to say it's very rare that this would happen.
Can it be done, and I think Tom might have alluded to this too, so let's say we say, hey, 7 years, 100% tax abatement, 3 years, X amount. At any point, can that be revisited to sit there and say, hey, we're going to extend it to the 100% for the full 10 years? Is there conditional settings like that, or does it just have to be at the time of ordinance?
As long as the bonds remain outstanding for a 10-year period, you may pass an ordinance that would extend the abatement period. Again, I'm thinking of a community I may be standing in where we did that
And-
for a hotel.
Okay, and my thought was more the quantity of the abatement.
You
Or
can
whatever, and
adjust
that's
that by amending the agreement for payment in lieu of taxes.
Okay, and that might not necessarily be the best route to go anyway. I'm just wondering, just in terms of that. And I think the last thing I had related to this, I forgot. I am getting old.
We can come back to you.
Probably not. I'll still forget.
Brandy?
So although I'm not a great fan of doing the abatements, for a second time, but I tend to want to look at the other side of the coin, and I think Ben touched on it just a little bit, but if we don't do anything to assist you guys in getting this property, what could potentially happen? That building ends up becoming blighted and, nothing's done with it, or it turns into another warehouse along the highway. And I don't want that to happen to our community. We have events that are here, so I tend to want to think about the revenue that we could generate from the people coming in, going to those events, knowing some of the things that we have on the horizon here, what more potentially we could have with the arena, and the revenue that could come in, which could potentially then offset the abatement that they're asking for. So that's kind of where I lean. Like I said, not a fan of doing it the second time, but I want to look at the positive side and what we could be potentially losing out on if we don't do anything.
Thank you.
Charles Schwenke?
Okay, I haven't been in this community very long, a couple of years, but it's, I've been by that Hartman Arena 100 times, I suppose, and it's, to me, it's been a very busy business, and I know in your papers here, you have said that you think you can extend or increase the number of basic shows and stuff that is had there, and that is the plan?
Yeah, we would very much drive that and try to do everything from a ownership's perspective to help VenueWorks be successful in that. And then I think it's also the quality of event too. So that there are probably some additional events, given the amount of traffic that we believe we can help drive to Park City as a whole, that might elevate the level of the concert or the attraction that is being presented at the arena. So I think it will give us, that is one of our objectives, would be to elevate some of the programming that's there and improve on that or increase on that somewhat.
And that'd be a wonderful plus on this. I think I probably lean the way everybody else is kind of leaning, at the fact that we need this arena. It's a valuable thing to the Park City, and I don't want to see it turned into a warehouse or something like that. And the fact that we, if we do the 10-year abatement, we'll probably take some noise from the community. I'm sure of that. But at the same time, I want it to be the right decision, that it's needed, and we become a part of that by doing it, And so I lean towards doing this if it is necessary, because it's necessary that we have the arena. Is the name of the arena going to change?
I would anticipate, yes. The way that it's been laid out right now is that the name would stay maybe in its current form for up to 12 months, and then after 12 months, that it would probably definitively change at that point, and we would actively pursue sponsors and naming rights and probably a different branding approach to the arena itself. So yeah, I would anticipate, yes.
It's not that was important,
Sure.
except the fact that it was interesting to me to
Yeah.
know whether you would change the name or not. But
Yeah, I think it's a revenue source too for the asset that's not being utilized right now, that will help bottom line and help the cash flow of it as well.
Good idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ben?
Yeah, so great minds think alike, because Brandy said what I was gonna say. I remembered it right when she said it. Is the fear of this turning into a warehouse or something like that, where it becomes something that's not really where we're headed. So I think it does become important that we sit there and look at what's on the table, what's the presentation. This is not a no-name group coming in to Wichita or to Park City. And telling us, hey, we got this great grand idea. This is a group that's been in our community for a long time. And so I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve Resolution 1144-2023, a resolution of the governing, yes. Oh, wait, we got to do the public hearing.
Currently in a public hearing,
Okay.
and the mayor will ask for any other public comments.
Hold on.
I'm ready, though.
We'll be ready for that.
Okay, I need cake, so.
We'll come back to you, Ben. Jim?
Just to be careful on comments, you know, I don't mean for any of us, probably don't mean for us to talk negatively about it being potentially becoming a warehouse, because we have a lot of warehouses and they've been good to Park City. I guess to state this, I think I understand this correctly, that this abatement would only be on the arena and the land under it and not the out parcels. So if we can get the street put in, we could, which would make those out parcels more developable, that would be a pretty good potential source of additional revenue that we don't have now. That's a little bit why I'm focused on the streets, or the street, is to make those lots more lucrative to a buyer, so we could possibly benefit from them. There'd probably be another IRB abatement question on whatever comes to those lots, but that's a little bit, I think that's a factor that some of you could put in your hat, that we could have some additional revenue, put ourselves in a position to have some additional revenue from something else.
Thank you, Jim. Tom?
I had pushed mine to make a motion, but we're still in a public hearing, so.
Okay. I think everybody's weighed in, unless there's anybody else that wants to talk. I just had a few comments and notes and stuff that I made. The thing I think is important that we weigh is the impact of this building becoming something else other than arena. And we obviously, there's been several points of conversation on being some sort of a warehouse or a storage facility or something like that. We have a lot of those in town, and we have a developer that continues to build those, and those are great for the city. We only have one venue of an arena for entertainment that drives and brings people into town. So I struggled with this myself, and there was very shallow conversations about us being involved in ownership of a facility like this. And at first I shrugged that off pretty fast, because if you think about it, there's risk involved in us owning a facility like this. As Ryan, the developer, mentioned, a year of COVID could be very impactful on the city or on the residents. And also, if you think about it, if we own it, there's no taxes on it that way either. Not 10 years either. It's longer than 10 years. However long we own it, they're abated. So I do think there's a public benefit to this. Jim hit on this as well. The outlots have been sitting for a very long time. And if those were to get developed with a kind of a fresh perspective or a fresh business plan, that could be very impactful on us on that road. And I do also stand behind Jim on what he mentioned about the road. I think that needs to be a big priority for whoever takes over the ownership, that road needs to get pushed through very soon, if possible. The other one is the impact on school districts. And I would say this, and having kids that went to school in Valley Center, and I had actually mentioned this to Ryan in past conversations, it always disappointed me that when my son graduated from high school at Valley Center, we went downtown or down to the east side of Wichita to the WSU Arena. And I just, to me, we drove right by the arena here in town that was empty that day. And I just wonder, when we're abating these taxes, there's an impact on the school district. And that's what I say, is I hope that we could be good partners with the district, with the new ownership, to where we bring events, keep events here. The thing I say is when we're weighing this out is, does the positive impact and the community benefit outweigh the effects of an abatement? And the abatement is obviously impactful to the city, but I also want to think about this, like, and you'll know, oftentimes I have supported abatements, but I've also spoke against abatements, especially in certain projects, because there is an impact on city services. And for instance, our roads or our police services. And if you think about this event, Chief, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the security services or the policing services at these events is covered by the county, and they have a security team. So very little impact on our police department and staffing. And the other one would be our roads in town. And if you think about it, I'll say feeder roads, but the roads that feed into there, it's all interstate. They exit off, they cross over the KDOT bridge, and very minimal, maybe a quarter, half a mile on city streets that were actually covered under specials. So I just say,
Broadway.
which is another thing I say about the city streets, pushing that road out to the north will give a third entrance and exit point to the facility. So that's my thoughts on it. I know we have a public hearing on, I'm not seeing any more lights on. If there's anybody in the public that would like to come up and speak, I welcome you to come now. Okay, I am seeing nobody, so I will close the public hearing at 7:57. We've had a good discussion on this. I would entertain a motion. Tom?
I'd move to approve Resolution 1144, 2023, a resolution of the governing body of the City of Park City, Kansas, determining the advisability of issuing taxable industrial revenue bonds for the purpose of financing and acquisition, construction, and equipping the commercial facility located in the City of Park City, and authorizing the execution of the related documents.
Thank you, Tom. Ben?
I'm gonna second, just say this here real quick, is that I don't mind them using our city streets for this, because chances are that means they're spending money in town at restaurants and things like that. So even the use of city streets, whether it's Broadway or Hydraulic or the 61st corridor, I think it's great all the way around at that point.
And I say, when I said about does the positive impact of the abatements and the community benefit outweigh the effects of the abatement? And I say that in restaurants, hotels, we get bed tax from it as well. I mean, there's a good community benefit. It's a driver of people, and to me, more people is more progress, and the more people that are coming up here that stay in town. So, I have a motion by Tom and seconded by Ben.
But I had another comment.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say for tonight, we're authorizing this to proceed, and it will be back to us. So there may be some negotiations or something that goes on, or it may come back as it is, but right now we're authorizing that to happen, right? Am I wrong?
That's correct.
Right. This is just authorizing the start of this, okay?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion passes 8-0. Moving on to item 7, discuss and consider council liaisons, and this would be the ones that were opened up from the departure of Councilman Nordick. Did agree to stay on the CCUA, so we don't need to do anything with that one. Is there anybody else that wants to, has a willingness to serve somewhere or do something different in any of these spots? And I know when we did these, Ben wasn't at the meeting, and after I looked later, I saw that we kind of left him out. So, Ben, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, right now, as it is, we have, I believe, 3 council members that don't serve as liaisons to committees as is. 2 of us serve in alternate positions, and then obviously Charles is coming in. You know, granted, and I don't mind serving, but I think it's fair, it's good that all 8 of us have some skin in the game when it comes to these liaison positions in terms of being true liaisons and not alternates, so, I think that's something we should look at in terms of if there's council members that have 2, maybe those should be spread out so that everybody has a shot at least at 1. And I'd also encourage those who don't serve as a liaison in a position, myself included, to step up and be willing to take one.
Okay? Brandy?
I'd be willing, I went to a community relations board meeting this week and it ends up falling on a night where my daughter has soccer practice at 7 o'clock, or until 7 o'clock. And she's joining another soccer team, so we're gonna have 4 practices a week, so I'm gonna be extremely busy in the evenings. So I would be willing to step off of the community relations board and open that up.
George, you want to be the main,
Sure, I've been several years, so yeah, it's no problem.
or no, somebody else?
I go as an alternate anyway, so,
Right.
so I'm there. So it doesn't matter. I can be the
Want to
liaison.
be the full-time one? And was anybody else want to serve as the alternate on that one?
I'll do whatever you need.
Okay? Ben?
Yeah, I would be willing to go ahead and take the parks and rec, 'cause that was where I was at for a number of years, and
Okay? Give me just a second here to catch this up. Okay, so Tommy, you want to stay on planning and zoning?
The meetings I've been to, I bring some history to them that, from the city perspective of why we're doing some things in planning. But other than that, it's, I'll go with the flows. I enjoy doing it, but
Jim, you're serving currently as an alternate to that. I just wondered with Charles's previous experience, and planning commission here, and then previous experience in his first life, would you be willing to let Charles take that one?
Well, honestly, this is my first year as the alternate even.
Oh, it is?
On there, so at this point, you have more experience in it than I do anyway. So, yeah, I'd be fine with that. If Tom and Charles want to do that, that's fine.
Are you comfortable with that? I didn't ask you.
I'm comfortable with it.
you've got me as an alternate on stormwater too. And I volunteered for that just to go to the meeting once in a while. And so I would be willing, I wasn't reappointed, I'm new to that.
I think the point though would be.
And still
to
go to the
get-
meeting. Pardon?
I think the point would be is to get every council member an opportunity to be the actual liaison.
Right,
And
okay.
right now, Charles still doesn't have any spot where he's actually a liaison to. I think that's what's important.
Right.
That's my opinion, sorry. But is that each one of us have a spot as the liaison.
Okay, is there anything else that you guys want to bring out in these positions?
There's Wampo, but I'm willing to do that another year, so it's
You say
an
that again?
afternoon job.
You can only do it another year?
No, I'm saying I'm willing to do it another year.
All right. I think you're in. Okay, so I would entertain a motion, Madam Clerk, if you'll write this, that we put Ben as the liaison to Parks, Councilman Glover to the CRB liaison, Councilman Schwenke as an alternate of CRB, and an alternate of Planning and Zoning. And if I missed any of that, speak now. Don't want the mayor to get ousted tonight, so. Okay, I would entertain a motion for that. Ben. Tom.
I'll second it.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Move to item 8, receive Land Bank Treasurer's annual report to the governing body as required by KSA 12-5903. Marlo.
KSA 12-5903 requires the Land Bank to make an annual report to the governing body by January 31st each year, including a report of audit, receipts, and disbursements from all funds under its control, reflecting all property transactions that occurred during that year, and an inventory of all property held in the land bank. It also requires the inventory to be published in the official newspaper on or before January 31st. As you can see, we didn't have any action this last year, so we still have one Lot 1, Block A, in Park City Village, 3rd edition. And you are not required to take any action on that. It's just a report.
I would entertain a motion to, or I guess we don't need to receive and file then. Okay, we won't take any action then. All right, on to item 9, discuss and consider approving the exterior grant program for 2023. Sean?
Yes, sir. As discussed on January 10th, was the exterior grant program, and we had erroneously captured an earlier one that didn't have everything that council had outlined previously last year. So staff is recommending the exterior grant program be continued for 2023 with the following specifications. First of all, number 1 is that the property is at least 30 years of age or more. Non-apartment residential properties is who it applies to. Minimum is $2,500 investment by the property owner. The reimbursement amount is 20%, which is a minimum of $500 with a maximum of $2,500. Eligible improvements are included in item number 5. Ineligible items are included in item number 6. 7 outlines that the eligibility of the improvements not listed are to be determined by the planning department director. Number 8 says all improvements must conform to the Park City codes. If a contractor is utilized to perform the improvements, the contractor must have a Park City occupational license. Property owners must be current on all their property taxes, must be code compliant with the exemption of the violation that they are trying to rectify by the grant program. All other properties owned by Park City must be code compliant, and the property must provide proof of adequate property insurance. And again, in the FY23 budgeted amount for the homeowner incentive, there's a total of $125,000 under governing body housing incentives. Staff recommends approval. And as what somebody had brought up in the previous meeting as well, is the application does sit there and say that any property owner can only apply for one incentive on an annual basis, whether that be the exterior grant program, the new house program, or the painting program. It's one application per property owner per year. So,
Thank you, Sean. Council? Ben?
Yeah, thank you for making the corrections on this. So I'd go and make a motion to approve the 2023 exterior grant and allocating $50,000 to be paid out of the general fund governing body department.
Thank you, Tom.
1 second.
Okay. Sean, and just remind me, this does not include the, where we talked about the driveway stuff?
no,
That
sir,
would
it
be a
does not. Staff
separate-
is still working on a proposal for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Item 10, discuss and consider approving change order number 2 with Pearson Construction for drainage improvements for Saddlebrook, 3rd edition. Sean?
Back in July, council approved resolution 1122 for 2022, authorizing proposed pavement and stormwater drainage improvements to Saddlebrook 3rd edition. The improvements included construction of pavement of Hidden Court and portions of Hidden Lane, Sprucewood Street, all with drainage to be installed where necessary. Attached is change order number 2 for additional drainage work to fix the flow coming through the last 2 properties on the eastern edge of the new project, and to install additional inlets in pipes in the properties furthest to the west. The total cost of the change order is $52,560 and is within the petition amount, factoring in just the monthly pro rata increase. Staff recommends approval. Just for everyone's background, over the past year, council is well aware that we have had some questions as far as drainage concerns with Wyndham and everything like that. This is a very similar situation to where some of the drainage is going through people's backyards, and that's the way it was originally designed. So that's why, while this process is going on now, we have asked the developer to address them at this time, and that's what these improvements are. So hopefully that'll mitigate any concerns that future property owners in that neighborhood would have, so.
Jim?
Thanks, Sean, for taking a look at this. I'd had somebody call me about this, and I went out there and looked at this too. It is a bit of an issue right now, and I'm glad we're catching this on the front edge and able to fix it before it becomes a long-term problem. So, I'm willing to listen to everybody else's comments, but I would go ahead and move to approve the change order number 2 with Pearson's Construction in an amount not to exceed $52,560 to be paid out of the Capital Projects Fund.
Tom?
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Number 11, discuss and consider adopting an ordinance amending section 14-202 of the municipal code to correct errors in speed limits for Broadway. Doug?
Mayor and council, hopefully we can, I think I made this joke last time, put a stake in the speed limit ordinances that you're seeing. The necessity of your adopting this ordinance is to correct a mistaken speed limit for sections of Broadway that was included in the last 2 ordinances that you've adopted in the last 2 meetings, the last one in December and then the first meeting in January. Adopting this ordinance will correct that mistake and reinstate the speed limits that you adopted back in November of 2021, where you reduced it to accommodate the roundabout at 77th Street and other concerns that that the police department had for the speed limits along Broadway. So I would recommend that you adopt ordinance 1158-2023.
Thank you, Doug. Ben?
Yeah. Well, I'm just trusting you guys on this one here because we've had several of these. But the police department says it's necessary, then I'd go ahead and move to adopt ordinance 1158-2023, an ordinance amending of the municipal code of the city of Park City relating to maximum speed limits established in section 14202 of the municipal code and repealing the original of said ordinance 1156-2022 in section 14202.
Thank you, Jim.
I'd second the motion.
Okay, and this will be a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, if you call the roll.
Charlie Davidson,
Aye.
George Glover,
Aye.
Ben Sosetta,
Aye.
Charles Swinky,
Aye.
Tom Jones,
Aye.
George Capps,
Aye.
Brandy Bailey,
Aye.
Jim Schrader.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0. On to item 12, discuss and consider purchase of 3 mobile license plate readers for the police department as funded by a federal grant. Chief.
Mr. Mayor, council members, in 2022, the police department received approval for a federal grant for 3 vehicle-mounted automatic license plate readers in the amount of $76,800. The grant will pay 100% of the cost of the purchase and the installation of this equipment. This is a reimbursement grant which requires the city to purchase the equipment, and then the city will be reimbursed by the Kansas Governor's Grants Program. The grants program usually repays the city within 2 to 4 weeks of the time that we send the receipts to them. Staff obtained a quote. We had to submit a quote to the grant program in order to actually apply for the grant. So we basically had to select the equipment before we applied for the grant. We obtained a quote for 3 LSAG Leonardo automatic license plate readers, plus the warranty and installation from Bush and Associates of Olathe, Kansas, in the amount of $76,800. This quote was provided under the State of Kansas direct pricing contract. So there will be no fiscal impact to the city once we're reimbursed by the grants program. So I'd be glad to answer your questions if you have any.
Jim?
I honestly don't have any questions. I remember previous discussions on the validity of these, and really appreciate your work to get a reimbursement for them. So I'll just go ahead and move to approve the purchase of the 3 LSAG automatic license plate readers and installation services from Bush and Associates LLC in the amount of $76,800.
Thank you, Jim. Charles?
I'll second it.
Brandy?
I just have a quick question. Are these the readers that hang up throughout the city on various posts, or are these in cars?
No, these would be vehicle mounted, so they'll be mounted on our patrol vehicles.
Okay.
And Chief, I noticed on there, this first one covers a warranty for the first year, and then next year it would be in the police budget, I guess, to extend the warranty on these.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
You know how much that is?
We'll have to budget for that expense then.
Do you know how much that is?
Offhand, I don't. I want to say that for the total amount, we're somewhere in the range of, I want to say roughly 2,000.
Okay.
But that's, I can't say for sure, so.
Okay.
Sir, I'm not entirely correct, and Chief, but it shows that on the quote, the quantity is 9. So if we're buying 3 cameras and the quantity is 9 for a 1-year extended warranty, I think that is for the 3 years.
I believe you're correct, yes, sir, that's right.
Oh,
I believe it is included, the $16,605 is for 3 years extended warranty on 3 cameras.
and that was included in the grant?
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay,
Yes, Sean is correct on that, yes, 3-year.
thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Charles?
I had another question. If, along the lines, these will be mounted in a car, right? Do you have any plans of future of to have any of them stationary around the city?
It's a good question, sir. We currently have 6, and the city has authorized 7, so we're waiting for the installation of the 7th. And we would love to have more. They've been extremely useful, particularly in solving crimes,
Yeah.
felonies. But we have 7 currently,
Okay, thank you.
6.
Thank you. It was motioned by Jim, seconded by Charles Swanky. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 8-0. On to item 13, discuss and consider purchase of laptop computers and vehicle docks for the police department. Chief?
Mr. Mayor, council members, Sedgwick County Emergency Communications, or commonly known as 911, will be transitioning to a new computer-aided dispatch system, or a CAD system, in April of this year. This has been a several-year project for them. The police department and our IT staff have been working with Sedgwick County on this transition for the last couple of years. One issue that's come to our attention over the last several months is that the screen size of the police department's current in-vehicle tablet computers will not meet the minimum screen size that's recommended by the vendor of the new CAD software. The problem that this will create for the officers is that as they're trying to read the 911 call information, they will find that they'll have to scroll around the screen. So when 911 receives a call, they put out a certain amount of very basic information over the radio, but the bulk of the call details comes out across the computer. There's not enough airtime to put all this information out across the radio. And the officers also have it at their fingertips then when they need to go back and refer to it. The problem this is going to create is multifaceted, but one of them is the officers are going to have to scroll around. Now, the officers don't normally go down the street reading their computer, but they are allowed to do this when there's critical information that they need to look at that doesn't, when they can do so safely, and that is permitted by state law. Everything will not appear on one page, though, because of the fact that the screen size doesn't meet the minimum requirements. So it'd be somewhat like taking the magnifying glass and trying to go around and read a page, if you can imagine that. One other issue that we have is we have tablet computers currently, so if they're removed from the car, there's no keyboard. It has an on-screen keyboard that shows up, which frankly is really difficult to use. With this new CAD system, officers are going to be carrying those computers into the jail with them because they will be able to electronically submit their booking reports at the jail. So this is going to be a great time saver for the officers, but once they leave that car, they won't have a keyboard with them. And the text size will be, it's pretty small on the small screen. So the police department purchased our current GTAC tablet computers in 2019. The computers that we're asking to purchase have a 14-inch screen. The ones that we currently have an 11.2-inch screen. We have field tested several makes and models of computers over the last several months. The officers report that the larger screen size has made it much easier for them to read, 911 calls. It's also improved their ability to write reports in the car. We've tested computers provided by Dell, GTAC, which is our current vendor, and Panasonic. The lowest price was provided by a vendor for Panasonic computers. Our officers and our IT manager have also reported that the Panasonic computer has been the most reliable and has had the most readable screen and the easiest keyboard to use. We obtained quotes for 15 Panasonic FZ55 laptops from Rugged Depot in the amount of $43,890, which includes the shipping. This quote was provided through the SAVIC Buying Group, which is a government purchasing organization. In order to mount the laptops in the police vehicles, we have to purchase new in-vehicle docks, which also provide the power and the antenna connections for the laptops. We're going to be able to retrofit these by using a lot of the existing hardware, which will save us a substantial amount of money. Our plan for the existing computers that we have, our tablets, is to transition some of those over to code enforcement, as they are just now in the process of adopting a new software reporting system. And then whatever tablets that we have left over would be sold, and the sales amount would be returned to the city. We obtained a quote for 15 in-vehicle docks from Superior Emergency Response Vehicles in Andover in the amount of $13,200. The quote was provided also through the SAVIC Buying Group, government purchasing organization. I would be glad to answer any questions if you have them.
Charlie?
Chief, appreciate you bringing this information to us. I'm definitely in favor of having that critical information to the officers when they need it. One thing, just from personal experience, is sometimes the regular laptops, they go through quite a bit of wear and tear. Are these laptops going to be reinforced at all? I know Panasonic at one time made like a tough book, they called it. Are they going to be a little more?
Yes, sir, it is. This is a Panasonic Tough Book.
Oh, it actually is going to be.
Which is a rugged computer. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of 15 laptop computers in the amount of $43,890 from Rugged Depot LLC to be paid out of the Special Alcohol Fund Police, and 15 docks in the amount of $13,200 from Superior Emergency Response Vehicles to be paid out of Public Safety and Court Technology Fund.
Thank you, Charlie. Ben?
Second.
Did anybody else have anything? Okay. All right, motion by Charlie, seconded by Ben. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Mayor.
All right, next, discuss and consider the 2023 street rehabilitation program. Dick?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. First off, let me apologize. I'm getting over a cold, so my voice is a little raspy. I apologize for that. At their December 13th, 22 regular council meeting, council directed Public Works Department to develop and present additional options for the 2023 pavement rehabilitation program on January 4th. The mayor, city administrator, and myself met and developed the following recommended pavement rehab program, which includes 4 locations. The first location is 61st Street, from just east of Air Cap over under the freeway to just west of Jacksonville, with a pavement rehabilitation method of 2-inch mill and overlay and an estimated cost of $100,000. Second location is Broadway, from 1/4 mile north of the intersection with 61st Street to 1/4 mile south of that same intersection, also with a 2-inch mill and overlay at an estimated cost of $250,000. Third location being 85th Street, from Broadway over to Interstate Highway 135, with a Nova Chip overlay pavement rehab method at an estimated cost of $155,000. The fourth location is East Parkview and West Parkview, horseshoe basically, also a 2-inch mill and overlay with an estimated cost of $400,000. For a total estimated cost for the pavement work only of about $905,000. We estimate that there will be some additional costs for the contractor's traffic control, pavement restriping, etc. Fiscal impact of the recommended program will be a prospective $1 million expenditure from the Special Street and Highway Fund as included in the 2023 budget. Public Works staff does recommend for approval of the proposed 2023 street rehabilitation program. We appreciate your consideration, and we'll try to answer any questions or concerns.
Thank you, Dick. Ben?
I like, we upped our game in terms of the road and street repair work that we allocated in budget for 2023. So I think it's a good aggressive plan. To me, we're staying in budget. That's an important part there. So I like this. I think it would be good, and I think, just moving forward in this is, we have the street ratings that, was done several years ago, 3 or 4 years ago now, I think, maybe 3. It'd be good to kind of start mapping out kind of like a streets master plan in terms of, looking forward to 24. Where are we going to be looking at? What are we going to be looking at? What are we going to try to start budgeting towards and everything? And so I would be in favor of something like that as well. But I think this plan is good. It hits some core areas that need to be addressed, and sets the stage for further movement forward on this. So obviously this is a big expenditure item for us in budget. So I'm ready to make a motion, but I'm not going to yet, just to give people a chance to weigh in.
Thank you, Ben. Tom?
I just have one comment. When you're talking about 1/4 mile north and 1/4 mile south of 61st Street, that's not a lot of road once you take the roundabout out. So we're really only doing several hundred feet in there, really, aren't we?
We'll go 1/4 mile north from where the project ends now to a
Okay,
1/4 mile
okay,
south.
that's,
of where-
okay, because I was figuring it, the way it read, it said from the intersection. It didn't say it extended outside, so, okay, I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
I was gonna say, there ain't much territory there for a 1/4 mile.
Yeah. So I guess I want to say just kind of my vision or my idea of roads. I feel like this is an area, as you guys, many of you know, I feel like we've dropped the ball for the last few years of this, and as prices have gone up significantly. And that's why you guys you guys approved increasing our budget for street repairs, up to $1 million, which I think is a great start. But I would say this, in looking at this, my vision is, we raised it 500,000 this year, and I think we need to try to be able to do that next year. And in doing that, Broadway, I'm hoping that if we can add another 500,000 to the streets budget next year, that we would be able to, if you look between 53rd and 69th, there's a mile and a half left. And this half a mile section was $250. So at that rate, if we spend $750 next year just on that side there, we could get from 53rd to 69th Street redone on Broadway. That's leaving this earmarked 250,000, adding 500 into it. Then you still have the same amounts in there, that 400,000 for Parkview. And if you notice, the council, and I'm in complete agreement that I'm not a fan of chip and seal. And these are all 2-inch mill and overlays, with the exception of 85th Street is a no chip overlay.
Yes, sir.
And Deck, if you wouldn't mind, just a quick overview of what that is.
A Nova Chip overlay, it is a hot mix, black, lay-down asphalt. And it's a very dense, finely ground grade of asphalt, and goes in a thinner layer, about 3/4 of an inch typically. It's actually the treatment that's right now on 85th Street. Apparently, that's about a 15-year-old treatment. I wasn't here during that time, but apparently it held up fairly well for 10 years or so, and now it's kind of showing its age. But it's actually the same treatment that is already on 85th. It's also on parts of North Hydraulic. It's on parts of Hillside and 53rd down by the high school, that area is Nova Chip. So, yes, sir.
Okay, yes, thank you for answering that. So, and other thought, something that fell pretty close to where East and West Parkview is Randall Road is another one that is in bad need of some repairs too. So I would say that we, next year, the 400,000, we gotta look at Grove. Grove is a big area of traffic, and it's in fairly bad shape as well. If you'll remember, that was on the list a couple years ago that we wanted to get to, we just didn't. So I think this is a really good start. It leaves, there's still about 95,000 in there for contingency and cost overruns or whatever that may be, or even other repairs that our crews need to make. So in our last discussion, I asked that you guys allow me to go back and talk to staff, and I feel like we came up with a really good plan. Each of these roads are in very bad shape, as you guys can agree, and they're arterials, with the exception of the Horseshoe, which is a street that is in very bad shape as well. So, Tom.
I was gonna make a motion, but I want to make a comment first too. And I went and have looked at Broadway, just north of the bridge at 45th Street, up to just south of 53rd, where it's really rough in there. And I said, we were talking about doing an overlay on that. I'm not so sure that if you got the asphalt off of there and did a little bit of work, you couldn't put something back down and make it work for a while. And get rid of the tire busters that are down through there, the potholes and stuff like that. And we're not addressing any of that here. Have we got a plan to go patch some of those, or is it just something we need to
routine
look at?
maintenance right now, sir.
Well,
Just routine maintenance.
And again,
we're not keeping up.
We know that, and it's job one right now.
But looking down there at the brick, I think there's brick street under it with some skirting along the side and stuff. If the asphalt was cleaned off, I don't know if we could patch some of that and then lay an overlay over it and make it work for 5 years or 10 years or something, but I'd made a comment about it the last time we brought this up. But tonight, I'm gonna make a motion that we accept Public Works recommendation for the 2023 pavement resurfacing program.
Thank you, Tom. Ben.
I'm gonna second that real quick just for discussion, and two things. One, I do agree that section down there along Broadway is something that we gotta try to find some sort of solution to on there, even if it is something that we can get us to a next stage where we can really address it, because it is, it'll mess up your alignment pretty quickly. The second thing, though, I think, and just important to stress, is when you look at the map here and you see the highlighted red section, you can see the amount of city streets compared to what we're doing. And that cost us $1 million. So I think it's a good perspective for people to see, $1 million is a large portion of our budget as a city. And this is what we're able to accomplish with that. So we are making progress. We do understand the need as a council that streets need to be done and need to be improved and need to be addressed. But without mill levy increases to really tackle it much more aggressively, this is what a large portion of our budget will get done. And that's not a negative thing. It's just simply, it's a good visual to see what $1 million gets you right now.
Points, Ben. Thank you. Okay, we have a motion by Tom, seconded by Ben. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. We have a plan.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Dick.
Mayor,
All right.
if I may,
Yes.
before you get to the governing body comments. Council, this is Deck's last meeting. When he came on board about 6 to 9 months ago, that's what we asked him to do, was come on about 6 to 9 months ago to give us an evaluation of our Public Works Department, and he's ready to head back to Houston and be with his bride, Marion. So I just want to personally thank him. He has been a tremendous, tremendous asset for this city. Not only from just taking the evaluation process and looking at our strengths and weaknesses, but also coming up with strategic planning. And then finally, just mentoring our department as far as the people that we have, taking a look at that and promoting them to go forward. So I just wanted to make certain that council was aware of that Friday would be his last day, and we are going to miss him. He has been a pleasure to be working with, so.
Thank you, sir. Too kind. It's been my privilege. Been my privilege. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom?
I had asked several months ago about an exit meeting with him and council, and doesn't look like that's going to be a possibility.
Yep.
We'd have to have a special meeting for it. Just to talk to him about things that are going on, and what's going on in the city and stuff.
I think Sean's gonna have a recommendation to us at the next meeting where he'll have basically kind of a reporting of what the oversight of the department was and going forward.
Yes. And also at the same time, even though he is actually leaving the geographical area, he has still agreed, there's still some projects that he's got his hands involved with as far as KDHE reporting and everything that he wants to make certain that the department sees through on. So, but yes, there is an ultimate report that's coming out of it, so that way council has that information. I have that information that's important for us going forward.
We brought an employee on to do an overview and stuff, and I thought that maybe before we lost him, that we could have the council sit down with him and just have a friendly meeting and talk about things in the city and what he might have some suggestions on and stuff like that. But I'm good with it. Okay.
Is there anything particular that you wanna make sure that Sean
No.
reports back on?
No, and I can't discuss the other 7 individuals, what they might ask either. I mean, just, we had a man come in, he looked at the city, he worked as our Public Works Director for 6, 7 months, and he's got some ideas, and we'd just like to hear them.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Okay.
All right, we'll do governing body comments. Jim?
Just a general comment that it was a great discussion tonight and a lot of positive things being knocked around about how to move Hartman Arena into the next phase. And I appreciated everybody's input. You could tell I was thinking about some things, and that was just a great discussion. So appreciate that, and I don't really have anything else to comment on.
Thank you, Brandy.
Dick, I wanted to say thank you for your service to the city. I think you've done a good job. I've heard good things, and you've brought us a lot of good things. So thank you. You will be missed, like Sean said. Second, the BMX report, they talked about their drainage issues and things that are needed so that way they can get to the next level and potentially have bigger races there. I'd be interested to know what we potentially could do and what that might cost for us to help them so that they can get to that next level.
Thank you, Brandy.
George? I would echo the thoughts. Good luck. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you. Tom?
I'd like to thank him too. And on the drainage issue at the BMX park, you may be able to do something as simple as a 4-inch PVC drain in the middle of that area and trench it out to a low spot and let it drain out, gravity. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things you could do without spending a whole lot of money.
Thank you, Tom. Charles?
Yeah, I kind of echo Brandy's question about the BMX track. I wasn't aware until I read this how, I know it's busy out there, but till I saw this report, I didn't know exactly how busy it is out there. But this is really important, and whatever the city can do to help it, I'm for it. And so I hope they reach out to us and give us some information on what they really need so that we can do it. Streets, I'm behind John on everything you said about the streets and trying to increase the street budget. We just can't imagine how important good streets are in a town and how it reflects on the community. And I'm kind of looking even at $1 million 3 years from now, it's going to make a big difference, you know. And it would be great to have $2 million, but I'll settle for $1.5 million. You know. That's it.
Thank you, Charles. Ben?
I want to say thank you, Dick, for everything you've done over the last few months. I know there's been some sleepless nights and long nights and early mornings and all that there. And again, thank you to our Public Works Department, Zach, for all that you do, and the rest of the group. They're a phenomenal group that represent our city. So thank you to each one of you. Happy 162nd birthday to Kansas this Sunday. Doesn't look a day over 150, so it's a beautiful place to call home. But that's all I got.
Thank you. George?
Yeah, I was encouraged from the BMX folks who came out tonight. If you could have seen it, what it looked like 5 years ago as opposed to what it looks like now, it's totally different. So I was encouraged by just what they've done with the track, but also to enhance the track as well. So I just want to see it go forward. I also like the aspect of maybe having some Park City kids involved with that track, as far as leagues or whatever, to get them involved, if nothing else outside recreation. Thank you.
Early.
Dick, I want to just also say thank you for your work and your dedication here to Park City. I'm sure your bride will be happy to have you back more on a full-time basis. Also, I'll just echo what Jim said. Appreciate all the conversation tonight about Hartman Arena, and I was a little apprehensive at first at doing the bonds for an additional amount of time, but I foresee the growth out there and the potential to really benefit Park City. In 10 years, I'll be in my 50s, and I really look forward to what the BMX park looks like and what Hartman Arena looks like, or whatever the arena is called at that time. I'm excited, and I think we're really doing a good job as a council and staff at really preparing this city for the future.
Thank you, Charlie. Just a couple notes that I had. I was going to discuss, as we've talked about this, the Sedgwick County's created a fire board, and I'm working to bring in a suggested appointment to you guys next month. So I'm not sure which meeting, but it'll be the first or second, but I've been in talks with somebody about it. The library has installed lockers out front that you can reserve a book online through their app, and they put it in the locker, and then you go pick it up with your library card or your phone app to open up the locker and give you access to the book. They're doing this for some of the driving development in the community that has 24-hour shift work. So just wanted to get that out there. They will be probably some social media stuff on how to do it and how to access the facility. Last night, the planning and zoning met, and among several exciting projects they have, we're looking for in the hopes of an O'Reilly in the near future here in town, O'Reilly Auto Parts, and then the development out on West 61st Street that we were able to successfully get Wichita to de-annex is moving along very fast and was also on the agenda of the Planning Commission last night as well. So very exciting stuff. The other thing I was gonna hit, and I know we've talked about this in the past, and I've probably been the worst offender of it, but I would encourage you guys that as we serve as liaisons to city boards and stuff, that at the end of the council meetings, when we do our council notes, to just kind of report back on things that's going on. For instance, the CRB that's working on whatever events coming up next. It just kind of helps get the message out to folks that are watching. So, and I've been the worst offender of it, and we'll try to drive each other to keep doing that just to get the message out. Reminder of SCAC meeting is March 11th, so put that on your calendar. It'll be here in Park City, so exciting times. I would entertain a non-debatable motion to adjourn. Ben?
So moved.
Non-debatable.
Yes, and motion by Ben. Jim?
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Ben, seconded by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned. Oh, wait.
Yeah, there you go.